In my last two videos, I began to go over the timeline of what will happen prophetically. I showed that the signal for the end times was the tribulation or Jacob's trouble. The next thing to take place is the Great War. We will cover the next event that will take place during the war. But first, let's recap. Many will not like the fact that the tribulation is only for the children of Jacob, whom the Most High changed his name to Israel. But it's the facts. When you line up Matthew and Luke, you see the tribulation and Jacob being carried away as slaves is the same event. Let's take a look. When you line it up, it becomes abundantly clear. The disconnect for most people comes into play because religion has twisted Paul's writings to the point where they are unrecognizable. When it comes to understanding the Bible, this is the main rule. If you don't see it in the Old Testament, you are 99.9% of the time misinterpreting what you are reading in the New. Paul's letters are mainly quotations from the Old Testament. For example, Romans 9:27, Esaias also crieth concerning Israel, though the number of the children of Israel be as the sand of the sea, only a remnant will be saved. Esaias is Isaiah. He is quoting Isaiah chapter 10, verse 22. For though thy people of Israel be of the sand of the sea, yet a remnant shall return. The consumption decree shall overflow with righteousness. There are many more examples of Paul quoting the Old Testament. If you don't read the Old Testament, you will have no idea what Paul is talking about. But now let's go back to Luke 21, starting with verse 24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and they shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. This is Israel going into slavery. Verse 25. And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, with perplexity, the seas and the waves roaring. This is the great war. And then they shall see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. This is Christ or Yeshua returning. So if we accept what Luke says, Christ or Yeshua will show up during this great war. But if you don't get confirmation from another source, we could be guessing. So let's read further. So let's read Esdras from the Apocrypha or the 1611 King James Version. Esdras 2, verse 16. Behold, the days come when the Most High will begin to deliver them that are on the earth, and it shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth. And one shall undertake to fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, one realm against another. And the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, and the sign shall happen which I showed thee before. Then shall my son be declared, whom thou sawest as a man ascending. When all the people hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle they have one against another, and an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together, as thou sawest them, willing to come and to overcome him by fighting. But he shall stand on top of Mount Zion. So according to Esdras, we can see that Yeshua comes during this great war. When it says he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth, we can line that up with Matthew. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. There are some who do not like the Apocrypha and do not like Esdras. So let's go to Jeremiah chapter 50, starting with verse 8. Remove out of the midst of Babylon, and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans, and be as the he-goat before the flocks. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her, and from thence she shall be taken. Their arrow shall be as a mighty expert man, none shall return in vain, and Chaldea shall be a spoil, and all that spoil her shall be satisfied, says the Most High. So we see there's a war against Babylon, not just a war of all wars. So now let's skip all the way down to verse 43. The king of Babylon hath heard the report of them. His hands waxed feeble. Anguish took hold of him, and pangs on a woman in travail. Behold, he shall come up like a lion from the swelling of Jordan until the habitation of the strong. But I will make them suddenly run away from her. And who is a chosen man that I may appoint over her? For who is like me? And who will appoint me the time? And who is that shepherd that will stand before me? When it says, I will make them suddenly run away from her, we can match that with Esdras, verse 33. And when all the people hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle they have one against another. It's the same thing. In verse 44, when it says, "Who is a chosen man, that I may appoint over her? Or who is like me, and who will appoint me the time?" Yeshua is the only one like the Most High. He is not the Most High, but he is the chosen shepherd. There is going to be a war against Babylon, and when he shows up, they will leave that fighting to fight him. He is the common enemy. So now we have another leg to the timeline. The Israelites go into slavery. That happened already. The next step is the Great War. During this war, Yeshua returns. The idea that Yeshua can return any day is not exactly right. The war must first take place. There is no getting raptured. There is no going into spaceships. I am just dispelling the things that I've heard. You will have to endure the first part of this war. The commandments will be key to your survival.
Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment down below.